Hello, I'm ArchieLuxury and welcome to my first clip for 2012. Today I want to look at the 5 greatest watches for all time. These are 5 watches a man can wear which would cover all situations that he would be involved with. Watch number 1 would be the gold dress watch. In this case, only Patek Philippe will do. Platinum is over the top and the watch should be on a leather strap. Now, as I've said, in this criteria here, in other criterias, it's not limited to one brand, but the ultimate dress watch, there can only be one Patek Philippe, and every man really does need a Patek Philippe. Patek Philippe itself makes many beautiful watches that fit this criteria. My choice is a Calatrava, but that doesn't mean only the Calatrava is the right choice. Patek has a beautiful gondola, which would also be a wonderful choice for a man to have as an ultimate gold dress watch. In my case, I've also gone for white gold. However, that's not to say yellow gold or rose gold wouldn't be a good choice. Choosing a Patek Philippe, that's a very strong brand. It's the ultimate dress watch, and this is 5 key watches that will cover all situations, and I really do believe the Patek brand name is the one to go for. It's the ultimate in gold dress watches. Being a dress watch, it needs to be discreet. Preferably, it should be either a mechanical or automatic version. Patek does have a Calatrava in quartz, and I'm sorry to say this, but I really think it needs to be automatic or mechanical. The watch itself, being a dress watch, it needs to have the hour and minutes, and seconds is optional, and also a date function is optional. But you should have no more complications than that there. Anything further than that is vulgar. The thing with choosing Patek Philippe is I've actually said that the piece needs to be made of gold. Platinum's over the top and steel is not acceptable. So that means the steel Nautilus or Aquanaut is not acceptable as the ultimate dress watch. And I'm saying this to you because I've picked 5 key pieces for a man to have which will cover all situations. The Patek Philippe itself is the premier brand. It's the ultimate brand to have, and there's only one gold dress watch in your collection. You need to choose well, and Patek Philippe is the brand to choose. It's the greatest brand that was invented. It's the ultimate in dress watches, and if you're a watch collector, I'm sorry, but only Patek Philippe will fill that bill. And just displaying a beautiful Patek gondola here. This is also a wonderful choice, and as you can see, it's in yellow gold, so a choice of metals are available, so you can make your own mark. But the rules again, the piece needs to be Patek Philippe, the piece needs to be on a leather strap, and the piece itself there will see many years of use. Wearing a Patek Philippe gold dress watch is like wearing a tuxedo. You wouldn't want to do it for all occasions. Even going to work, you wouldn't always wear a tuxedo, and that's the same with this watch here. However, you do need a heavy hitting watch, and this is the ultimate to have. And I've chosen 5 key watches, and this here will save you money because you don't need to have oodles and oodles of watches. This is 5 key watches to see you through life. And I hope you can agree with my choice. The ultimate dress watch, there can be no other than a Patek Philippe, and it's also an heirloom to hand down to your children as the years go by. The next criteria of watch fills another area. It's the steel smart work watch. This piece should be in steel or two-tone, preferably have no diamonds unless you're over 45, and this piece can be on a metal bracelet or it can be on a strap. A great choice for this criteria is the Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso Grand Date. And the Jaeger-LeCoultre is available in many different models in the series there. It can come on a leather strap or it can go on a metal bracelet. This type of criteria watch, the gold part should be downplayed. Discretion is a key element. Personally, I'd much rather have an all-steel Datejust than a two-tone Datejust, but I'd like to leave a little bit of leeway in the rules here to fit a wide variety of tastes. But personally, I would be saying go all steel. And the beautiful thing about this watch here is that you can wear this watch whether you're hiring staff, whether you're firing staff, or whether you're facing trial for embezzlement. This type of watch here doesn't set off the wrong signals. It's very discreet and stylish. And this is the key elements, that this watch is so versatile it shouldn't draw attention to itself. Just like the ultimate dress watch is classy but discreet, this watch also does need a bit of discretion. This is the reason sports watches would not be acceptable in this area, because they draw too much attention. There's a number of key, beautiful, smart steel watches that would be great work watches to wear. And this is the watch that you're going to wear going to work Monday to Friday for the next 20 to 40 years. And hopefully it can be an enjoyable experience. And by wearing a beautiful watch, it makes you appreciate the time more, and it will hopefully make the time go faster. The wonderful thing about choosing a watch here is that this is a watch that most people would see you with. But when you don the tuxedo, you can put that gold dress watch on your wrist. So this is not the watch for all occasions, but it is a very key part of your wardrobe. The Datejust is a great choice in this range here because it's waterproof as well as being on a steel bracelet, and it's very, very versatile. It's a great piece. Personally, I prefer the rarity of the ArchieLuxury Reverso over the Datejust, but any of these watches that you see on the screen here would be quite acceptable for the gentleman to wear. The next criteria I want to talk about is a very important watch, and this is a watch that every man does need, whether they're an athlete or not. The watch I'm talking about is the sports watch. This watch must be waterproof, and it should be on a metal bracelet. The reason I say that is there's nothing worse than a watch being on a leather strap if it's waterproof. You can't test its waterproof features, you can't go swimming with it, and the servants can pilfer it when you're taking a dip with Madam of the House. So, in my opinion there, every man does need a sports watch, irrespective of whether they're an athlete, or they like a bit of physical exercise, or whether they're not involved in sports whatsoever. Every man needs a sports watch. There is a huge range of sports watches, and as I've said, chronographs disqualify themselves because with the extra buttons in the case there, they basically are not waterproof. However, that's because I recognise the value of a chronograph, and I've actually got a special watch specifically just for that. However, in this range here, there are many cool pieces. There's the Rolex Submariner, the Sea Dweller. There's the Rolex GMTs. There's the Rolex Explorer 2. And if you want to be discreet, and if you're not a huge sports follower, or even if you are a huge sports follower, how about the Rolex Explorer 1, the ultimate in discretion, and one of the true founders of the genre of sports watches. Never forget the Rolex Explorer 1 with a bezel add-on to it became a Rolex Submariner, and the Submariner itself owes its success and it owes its debt to the Rolex Explorer 1. The Rolex Explorer 2 is a fantastic piece, and that's the one I've chosen because it gives you 2 time zones as well as being waterproof, and it's just a wonderful watch. Any person who conducts business on the internet or in this world needs to know a different time zone. And I think the Explorer 2 is a wonderful piece. It's also a bit more unusual than the Submariner. Although I praise the Submariner and I do love the Sub, you really see them far too often on people's wrists. And the Explorer 2 can also double with the smart steel work watch, so it's a little bit more discreet without drawing attention to you while still being a sports watch. Obviously, I frown upon people who take a Submariner to work. That's really the wrong approach to take, and it's really going to send out the wrong signals to people. Sports watches are fantastic. They're a genre to themselves, and every man needs a sports watch. And it's also, you think about it, if the climate's a bit hot and it's a bit sweaty, it's always good to have a waterproof watch to protect that valuable movement that you've got inside the case there. And Rolex does this genre in a wonderful way. There are other brands that you can wear, but my money, I'm sorry to say this, you've got to pay credit where it's due, and Rolex really invented this genre of the sports watch. And the sports watch itself is something that as a lot of people concentrate solely on, and that's very wrong. The dress watch is equally as important as the sports watch, as is the steel smart watch for work. And these fill different niches in every man's collection. And what I'm trying to do is establish a wardrobe that a man can have 5 key watches which will last him a lifetime. And it will see him looking smart in all facets of his life. The dress watch itself, the smart steel watch for work, and the sports watch. These are key ingredients in a man having a complete wardrobe. The Rolex Explorer 1, as I said, added a bezel to it, and it became a Submariner. The history on this watch here, Ian Fleming, the author who wrote the James Bond series, wore a Rolex Explorer 1. It's also the watch that James Bond wore in the novels, and later on it became a Submariner in the movie. But let's pay homage to the great Rolex Explorer 1, one of the greatest sports watches of all time. The Sea Dweller certainly makes a big chunky statement, and it's that can be used to effect if you like to shout out a bit. But if you follow the other rules and wear this sports watch only on certain occasions, I'll give you permission to do that. The Rolex Explorer 2 with black dial is a great watch. Some people have argued that a sports watch needs to have a black dial. I'm not so convinced. I think the white dial Explorer 2 is a classic sports watch, and the white dial is a very nice variation on a popular theme. So I personally think you need to find the sports watch that best suits you and enjoy it. Every man needs a sports watch, whether they're an armchair sports fan or a practicing athlete. Every man needs a sports watch, and it's essential to have that in your collection. Casual weekends, you need a sports watch. If you're going to do some manual labor, and provided it's not too heavy manual labor, of course, you need to put on a watch, and a sports watch fits this T here. If you're going down to the shop, you need to put on a watch, and a sports watch is a beautiful item to wear. And it's also, if you're going trekking in the mountains, or if you're going bushwalking, or you're doing any sort of stalking, a sports watch is a great thing to have on your wrist there. And sports watches themselves, they're a genre that's really taken popularity since the 1980s, and in some ways it's really hurt the more conservative times with the dress watch. But there's a time and place for everything, and the sports watch certainly has merit. There is merit in sports watches, and I'm personally in love with the white dial Explorer 2. I think that's probably the ultimate sports watch, and it's a little bit more discreet than the Submariner. But you've got to pick your own choice, and there's many good pieces that you could wear and carry off yourself as a gentleman. And the sports watch itself is something that everyone needs. Now, as I mentioned about chronographs, I said this sports watch needs to be waterproof. Wow, that's because I've got my own. The next criteria, every man needs a chronograph sports watch. It must be mechanical, and I will give bonus points for an in-house movement. That's correct. Whether you're parking the Mercedes in the city, or whether you're visiting a bordello, you need to time things occasionally. And let's be honest there, the Submariner isn't really a great timing mechanism. Every man needs a chronograph. It goes without saying. And in my case, the ultimate chronograph is the Omega Speedmaster Professional Man on the Moon watch. as I've said before, it's the entry-level watch to a good watch. It's the entry-level price for a good watch. And the Omega Speedmaster Man on the Moon is iconic. It's a sports watch. I like to refer to this watch as a sports chronograph because the piece isn't necessarily waterproof, but it's certainly a very important genre for a man to have in their collection. There's many times if you're cooking an egg, if you have a new girlfriend and you're making her breakfast, you need to time things, and not just your performance in bed is important, also to boil an egg. And a timer like this is a wonderful feature to have, and it's a great thing. Sports watches and a chronograph, so that's the two key sports watches a man needs in their collection. And you don't necessarily have to go with an Omega Speedmaster. I've also showing pictures of a beautiful Breitling Navitimer. Unfortunately, the Breitling does lose points for using a Valjoux 7750 movement, but a chronograph is something every man needs. Men love buttons and fidgety things, and when you've got to go and talk to your boss about that marketing proposal and you're dreading every minute, and he's said to you, I want to talk to you for a few minutes, you can click your chronograph and go in there and just see how long you've waffled on for. And it's very sports watches and sports chronograph, they serve two very different functions. And it's very important, I believe, to have the two sports watches in your collection, even if you're not a greatly physical type person. A lot of people have white collar jobs these days, particularly fans of the ArchieLuxury channel here. We have a lot of white collar workers who don't really do much physical work. But the sports watch itself there is a key ingredient to every man's wardrobe. And every man, as I've said, needs a sports watch, a waterproof sports watch, and they need a chronograph sports watch. And the chronograph itself, as I've said, can come in handy for all sorts of occasions. And it's a very, very important thing. I'm not adverse to a sports chronograph putting onto a strap or changing it. I do like the conservatism of the steel bracelet, but that doesn't mean that you can't actually put it onto a leather strap. A leather strap at times can change the way it looks, and it can be used seasonally for different periods in your life there. And I hope you can see these two beautiful watches here, the Omega and the Breitling. They're both two sports chronographs that fit this bill to a T. And we have one final criteria coming up. One final watch that every man needs, and this is a key watch in that man's collection. The watch I'm referring to is the Bordello watch. And this is the only category where quartz is acceptable. The piece should be in steel or in two-tone, and it needs to be a discreet piece. The Bordello watch, that's correct. That's the watch you wear when you visit the brothel. And the watch itself needs to be quite thin, because this is a watch that you really don't want to take off and leave on the side table there, because it could be stolen when you're in the pleasure zone. And the important thing about the Bordello watch is that it's thin enough to wear without realizing you're actually wearing it. And so it needs to be a watch which isn't chunky or big, so the sports watches are no good, and the ultimate dress watch would be too valuable. So it needs to have a special criteria, and this is why I've said quartz is acceptable. In my case, the Bordello watch is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak in two-tone. And it's a very discreet choice, because even the crown is in steel. And this piece here is very discreet. And when it's on the wrist, it doesn't even feel like it's on. So you can wear it in all sorts of situations. Another Bordello watch which fits the T with greatness is the Cartier Panther. Again, it's another quartz piece, and in this criteria here, the beauty of quartz is that it is so thin and it's accurate. And the The Royal Oak doesn't have a second hand, which is kind of handy because it lets you focus at the job that you're performing, the job at hand. So there you go. That's the 5 greatest watches that every man needs in their life. And with these 5 watches, you will have a piece for every occasion that you could possibly be in. I'm ArchieLuxury. Tell me what you think of the 5 greatest watches of all time, and please shoot me your comments and tell me what you think of my selection. Thank you very much.